part of it just as we are. So let's continue to do that together. I want to bring up the moderator of this panel for this afternoon. He is a leader in his own right. He has been working diligently on the ground with a lot of victims as they deal with their crisis and their time of need. He is one of our dynamic chapter leaders out of the borough of Brooklyn. He is a reverend. He is a father. He is definitely one who is a growing role model, as we will call him, and leader in our community in the New York City area. I'm going to bring him to moderate this discussion at this time, the Reverend Dr. Kevin McCall.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Give yourselves a hand for being here all week. How many of y'all been here all week? That's good, that's good, that's good. Well, my name is Reverend Kevin McCall, and I'm the president of the Brooklyn East chapter. The area that I cover is East New York, Brownsville, Canarsie, and that is the area that I cover. And I enjoy working and helping and assisting as much as I can, dealing with the issues of social justice. And we continue to deal with those issues on a daily basis. And I tell people all the time, you know, we have to learn how to be able to deal with issues, not just in the pulpit, but not just on Sunday morning, but every day of the week. Because these issues don't just happen on Sunday, they happen every day. And we need to continue to deal with those issues. And I want to commend the life and the patronage of the founder of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's give him a hand. For he is definitely one of the best civil rights leaders that are doing great work in this country, and I enjoy working side by side with them. And I just don't understand, where does he sleep at? Because this guy runs, and he has my energy as the youth. And I give him all the respect and diligently for not just dealing with it. It's hard dealing with black folks. I want to say that again. I said it's hard dealing with black folks. And for him to be able to continue to be dealing with us on a daily basis, you can understand that so many people come up to him to deal with so many issues. So he has continued to be the fierce leader of today's country. Let's give him another hand. This panel is a part 2 panel of the panel that we had earlier this week. And we need to be able to have this dialogue, and we wanted to have this discussion regarding police brutality, the impact. And I'm going to introduce and talk about briefly who is on today's panel, and then I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we can go forward from there. To my left, we have the sister of Sean Bell. Let's give her a hand. Dolores Bell. I will always remember the legacy of Sean Bell because it happened on the night of my birthday. And I was just turning, I'm going to tell my age, but I was just turning the age. And I was celebrating, and I got the call that this tragic thing happened to Sean Bell. So I will always remember that. And also to my left, we have the sister of Amadou Diallo, Laura Diallo Brown. Let's give her a hand. Yeah. Amadou Diallo, as you know, was shot and killed 41 times for having a wallet in his hand. One of the most terrific, tragic things I ever heard. You know, and we must continue to deal with that. To my right, this young lady has been on the forefront since incident, tragedy happened to her father, and she has been one of my mentors, and she don't even know it. But she has really gained the strength and gained the opportunity to have those opportunities to have the strength of a leader. And she is one of the rising leaders of today, living up her father's name and his legacy. And one thing I like about her is that she prays. And she put God first in everything she does. I don't care what she's doing, and what she's going around, but she definitely put God first. And we want to pay homage to her. And that's the daughter of Eric Garner, Emerald Garner. This young man has been a furious leader of today, and we thank him for being on this panel to deal with the issues. You know, sometimes we cannot just have discussion without youth. We need to be able to have the youth in the room when we're talking about issues, because believe it or not, youth, things are affected on youth every day. The youth get harassed every single day, going to school, coming home from school, on the train, on the bus. So we cannot just have a panel with not having the youth at the table. So we want to pay homage to our brother David Mims for the Land Youth Huddle. Let's give him a hand. We also wanted to be able to pay homage to the brother of Trayvon Martin, Jarius Fulton. He is here. Stand, brother. Let's give him a hand. Sometimes you don't have to be very vocal, but you can also be committed and educated to the struggle, and we want to pay homage to him and his family at this time. Let's give him another hand. We also have the mother of Eric Garner, Esau Garner. Give Esau a hand. The wife, sorry. The wife of, that's what they wrote here. The wife of Eric Garner. Let's give Esau a hand. I'm sorry. You know what, Esau, she is not going to let me live that down. We also have the mother of Amadou Diallo here. Let's give her a hand. Come on, let's give her a hand. All right. Okay, so we thank everyone for being here, and we thank everyone for being here at this time to be able to deal with these issues that we have. So we're going to start this panel off, and we're going to just deal with the issues of police brutality and how they impact on us on a daily basis. Each of these panelists have dealt with different issues and dealt with things. So the first question we want to be able to have a discussion, starting with Dolores Bell, the sister of Sean Bell, is we want to talk about how do you cope with what happened to your loved one. It was all over the news and it was all over the social media. But how do you cope with what happened to your loved one, dealing with that?
First thing is God. We don't speak that much, but having a family that loves and supports me, and everyone that's in the building that supports my family, I thank you. God was praying to God and asked Him for forgiveness from my heart, forgive people that hurt my brother. I was 14 when it happened in 2006. I really didn't understand why it happened or question and why me, why my brother. But only God knows, and everything happens for a reason. And
All right. All right.
I just take one day at a time, and I have my nieces to look up to me and know that everything's gonna be okay.
Thank you to the National Action Network for being a huge support to me and my family throughout the years. For me personally, it gets harder as I sit here, especially today, and I look around the room and I see all these tragedies and all these victims. My brother was tragically killed in 1999. It's been over 15 years now. So my hopes then were that we never have to live through a tragedy like that ever again. And I sit here and I look at everybody, Dolores, Bell, and it's so real every day. You live it, you watch these tragedies, you watch the cases, and it brings it back. So how I cope with it, my mother has been my inspiration. She is an amazing woman.
Yes.
I don't know how she does it. I'm a mother now. When my brother was killed, I was young too. And now I'm a mom of 3 boys. So I have to answer to these questions. That they have. And it's hard because my tragedy now is a reality through my kids every day. They ask questions.
Yeah.
And it's our job here as the victims to pave the way for them so that they're not going through life scared that something like that can happen to them. But how do we do that? It keeps on going. It's happening every day. So I also would like to thank the City of New York because we have had such a support since we've been here. The National Action Network, but the support of all of you guys means the world. And like Dolores said, prayer, we have God and, our family and you guys to thank. So hopefully, we don't have to sit here and have to talk about this again in the future. Thank you.
I'm a little bit emotional, but I just, I understand somebody else's, that I get that other people feel my pain. Like I thank everyone who was supportive to us, who, helped us get through this. We're still not fully healed. It's, 10 plus years later for other victims, and no, it's never a full healing session, So to have the support is really what gives you the strength to keep talking about it or to keep doing something about it. So, when this happened to us last year, I was an adult with a child. My daughter, she was 3, she's 4 now. So, she knew my father. We spent a lot of time together. And like I tell people, like we fought hard, but we loved hard. So, those memories that you have, those are the memories that you hold on to because
It's usually easier for me to talk about it, but it's just like, you never really heal. And I haven't really had the time to really breathe from my situation because it's like I just automatically jumped into, getting out there and making people aware. But it's much more than that. It's about how people raise their kids so they won't be a victim. Like, you teach your kids certain things so they won't be a victim. I fear for my daughter all the time. Like, sometimes I say I'm glad I didn't have a boy because I would fear for my son. Like, I think of my brother, they're younger than me. They're out there all the time. I worry about them because of who their father is or, because of their relation to the family. So it's hard to, like, look at your brother and say, okay, I'll see you later because you really don't know. Like, I saw my father the weekend before and I said, okay, I'll see you next week. And that week never came. So it's like, it's more important now to be involved because,
it's like if you're not there for your kids, it's not gonna give them the comfort to say, okay, I can go to my parents with anything. You know, like they feel scared, so they look for love in other places. That's why they go to gangs, because they don't have a family. They say the gang is their family. But if they had the support or the people that they needed from the beginning, they wouldn't have to look for alternate people who they consider family. Like, you know, you can't just drop your kids off and just say, okay, I'll be back at 6 o'clock. You have to be involved in their life. Like, you know, my mother, you know, for the most of my childhood, she's, you know, rheumatoid arthritis. She had a knee replacement. I was really young, so she was bedridden for 2 years. So it was kind of hard for us, you know. I had my mother and my father there, so, you know, it wasn't easy for us to just, you know, break free and do what we want to do and, you know, just get out there. So, you know, we weren't 13-year-old mothers. We weren't, you know, I dropped out of high school and I went to obtain my GED. Passed it the first time. I have to add that. I failed out a lot of times, but, you know, I got to a point in my life where I was like, you know, I don't want to be like the next person. So it's like more important for me to let people know to be there, because I don't see me not being there for my daughter, because I don't want her to grow up and feel alone, because you feel alone when you lose somebody that you had your whole life. You know, I don't know my life without my father, so, you know, Dolores is younger than her brother, so I don't know. I don't have an older brother, but, you know, I have older sisters, and if I lost my sibling, after knowing them my whole life, you begin to feel empty. So, after all that, I just want to say thank you to everybody who supports us as, you know, we're family now, because y'all just my family. So, that's it.
One thing that we all know is we're going through a lot of pain. I've been through a lot myself because I was a victim and a survivor of police brutality. I was filming during the Hurricane Sandy storm in 2012, and while I was filming, some officers was trying to call for my attention, but I couldn't hear them, so they got into a temper tantrum and beat me and nearly killed me. They tried to throw charges on me and threw me in jail for like 2 weeks to try to cover up the story. That's why everybody, mostly everyone in this audience, is not familiar with my story. They tried to throw felony charges, and I went through hell trying to get lawyers, just almost lost my job. Trying to get certain jobs I wasn't able to get because I had felony charges on me, and they're not going to try to hire anybody if they feel like they may be going to jail. I went through a lot of depression, almost went through suicide because of it. But I decided to fight and not give up, because I'm not going to let these people define me. One way, there was multiple ways I did this. I went through therapy, I went through treatment. They diagnosed me with post-traumatic stress disorder, so I take medication, so sometimes I get a little frustrated. A way that I dealt with it, another way was I read a real great book called The Rejected Stone by Al Sharpton, which I have with me right now. Now, there's a part in the book that says, define yourself before others define it for you. And I refuse to let these punk officers define me. I've been a productive person in my community for years. I've been a counselor, social worker in a homeless shelter, help people get out of homelessness, unite them with their families, help people get jobs. I have a high extended background in education and also community work. I graduated college. You know, I'm not no thug, I'm not no criminal. They try to paint the picture of such a horrible person. Like, you know, they try to assassinate my character like everyone else's. You know, everybody else's, you know, victims. You know, Sean Bell, Amadou Diallo, Eric Gardner, you know, Mike Brown. They always try to assassinate our characters. But I'm here today to fight for those who are not able to fight today. who didn't survive, and those who are unable to speak today. So I'm here today to speak for everyone.
And we need to continue to support these families. You know, I attended many funerals. Last year I dealt with about 127 funerals. And out of those 127 funerals, 72 of them was under the age of 45. And 15 of them have dealt with young people. So we need to continue to keep the issue of dealing with this violence. And that's to my next question. How can the audience deal with the issue of, you see it on the news, you see what happened, to prevent it from not happening again, what happened to your loved one? What can we tell the audience to prevent things from what happened to your loved one again? And I want to start with David Liz.
Well, there's a lot of solutions that we need to do. One solution is to continue fighting and to not give up. The way these forces out here are against us, we can't just be timid and sit down and do nothing. We have to take action. Because, you know, these officers and these forces out here are bullies. We have to address a lot of the issues that's going on. One issue that I feel is a problem is that a lot of these officers are uneducated. Look at this for an example. How come we got lawyers and judges who spend over 5 years of college education plus an extended years of education, and we have these officers, we have these, lawyers and judges, have all of these college, years of education so that they could create, implement, and interpret these laws. And we have these officers who barely have a 2-year education enforcing the laws. The scale is unbalanced. So we have to, do something about it. We have to find a solution in reference to it. So we have to address, these are the type of issues that, the public rarely, talks about. And I learned that from Star. Star mentioned that from Shot 97, Troy Terrain. So he mentioned that. So he addressed that issue. So I just wanted to address that fact with, everyone else out here, today. And there's a whole bunch of other issues that's going on, in the community as well, too. We need to, educate our people, along with the law. Because if you look, for an example, you look at a lot of, especially black neighborhoods and communities, out of every single block, you can find, 5 people who knows the Bible back and forth. Know the Psalms, everything, the songs, the scriptures, and everything. But how many people in your community knows about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence? The same type of effort, people in these communities know about the Bible, the religion. They need to know about the law. Because how can you play the game if you don't know the rules? How can you be on the court, dribble the ball? You're always out of bounds because you don't know the laws and the rules of the game. So you have to educate yourself on the laws of the land so that you could be aware when somebody's trying to come at you with some foulness and everything, you be able to point that out and address that fact and know how to maneuver. Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of solutions out there that we need to address, even though somebody else may not be addressing it. You have to take a stand to move forward to address these facts and issues. Don't be worried about how other people or your colleagues is going to feel, because right is right and wrong is wrong. You have to do what's right.
Well, I feel like the police community relations are already, messed up. We need more relatable officers in the street, like they said, more African American officers in the African American community. I feel like, you should know your rights. If you get stopped, you need to know the procedure. You need to know, what you need to have with you. Always carry ID. Always, of course, you know your address, your phone number. If you're a minor, tell them to call your parents. Just little things that you need to know just so that you won't be victimized. Because sometimes it's you know that you're not supposed to be in that park. after dark, but you're still in there. Get out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about etiquette. Like, you know, you walk into a room where it's very quiet. You don't go in yelling and screaming just to be the loudest person in the room. Like, we understand that you're a youth. We understand that you don't want to sit still. But, I mean, sometimes it's like how you act when you go places. You can't get on the train swinging from the rails and expect people to just ignore you. You know, they're going to stop you. They're going to say something. If you cut school, you see a truancy officer, they stop you. You catch your attitude with the truancy officer. You're supposed to be in school. You're not supposed to be here. So I'm here to let you know that this is not where you're supposed to be. Like, some people, you know, they don't know how to carry themselves in certain situations, and it's like, I just want to be me. But sometimes you can be you, but you have to be a more respectful you. You have to present yourself in a different way. You know, like, I feel like you have to know certain things. Like, I feel like I started going to the youth huddle after the march in Staten Island that we had for my father. And I just wanted somewhere to go where I didn't have to talk if I didn't want to. And if I wanted to talk, somebody would be there to listen and not judge me or whatever the case may be. So I would just go and just listen to what's going on. And then I started seeing 8-year-olds with the thought process of somebody who's 25. And it's like, to see these young people come and like ask these questions or want to know these things, it makes me feel like, wow, like what was I missing at 8 that I didn't ask these questions? So, you know, obviously that child is doing a lot more research. They're curious. Like, curious minds wonder. They want to know what's going on. They want to know why. You want to say that this is bad for me. I want to know why it's bad. What is it going to do to affect my life? These are the questions we ask. We're youth. We don't know anything. Older people are our superiors. You're already set in your ways, but, you know, as a youth, you're a sponge. So you need somebody who can teach you. Like, it takes a village to raise the child. So we have these programs that are being cut. We have after school, no dance programs for anybody under 5, or no basketball programs for anybody over 12. That has to change, because it's like, you know, sometimes you can be 16 and 17, but you have the mentality of a 14-year-old because you weren't taught the proper things. And then when you go to school, you have those teachers who say, whether you learn or not, I get paid. So it's your job as the child to say, okay, well, principal, you need to do something about her because I'm not learning and she's still getting paid. So I feel like if I don't learn and she's not teaching me, she shouldn't get paid. You know, like, it's up to the youth to start doing that, because I always said something. So if I see something, I say something. So we just got to say something.
I agree with that as well. I think we need to start with the basics, and all those points are very valid. But I think we also need to bring this conversation at home. It starts at home with our children.
Yes.
We need to have this open dialogue with our kids, no matter how young they are. They are sponges, and they are watching the news. They're hearing things. And so it's our job to lead them in the right way, to share that knowledge, educate them, and, you know, in our schools. We need to take this knowledge and this community and bring it to our schools and be the leaders and the volunteers to share information with our kids and our youth. It's hard for me to talk about my brother with my kids, but it's gotten to the point where they want to know the details. They want to know specifics. And it's my job as a mom to say, this is what happened. But in these circumstances, this is what you do. And they appreciate that. And they want to share it with their friends as well. So I think this conversation starts at home. You know, I think that's where the foundation is at home. We need to teach our kids the right way, and we need to let them know if they're confronted by an officer, what are the procedures? You know, what are you supposed to do? Don't run away, you know, because then that makes you look suspicious and guilty. You know, we need to teach them that you can talk to an officer. There's a certain way to address an officer, and there's certain procedures to follow so that you're not a suspect. So that's what I thank you.
Like everyone said, it starts at home, and how you speak to your parents. And if you don't respect your parents, then it's gonna show effectively by police. In my case, well, to my brother. I feel that it's basically communication, like everyone says. It has to be a communication level towards everybody. This is my first time speaking since the case, so I really don't have that much.
Take your time.
Well, I feel like the police and police brutality period, they need to have training and talking to people, like counseling, in order to perform better out the streets, because they go through a lot of things within their house, they go through a lot of things within, yes, they go a lot of things within their facility, so you don't know, but they're in a facility, they go through a lot of things, so they take it on us as of color, or any color that they take it out on. It's just hard that it's how it happens. It's difficult on why they have to shoot 50 times, why they have to choke, why they have to do everything. It's like with the Eric Garden, it's a lot. They just need to grow and be able to, all are human. Everybody goes through things. They have their ups and downs as well as everyone else. But you have to realize that it could have been their son. It could have been, things could have happened differently. They could have, in my case, they could have shoot the car, like the wheel of the car, and instead of killing him, they wasn't getting no shots back. So why should it's a lot. They just need to do better. They just need to do better. They have to do a lot of training. They need training. Every year they need training, or every couple of months they need to be trained.
The police. And the parents, the police, the children before they send them out in the street. And like with me, I don't mean to interrupt, but I just have something to say, and I gotta say. With me, myself, and my husband, we had 6 children. I have 4 daughters, and now I have the 2 boys left. And they used to call my kids the window kids. I lived in Brownsville, and if I didn't go outside, my kids didn't go outside. And I had to be outside, with them in order for them to go outside. And I never wanted them to fall victim to drugs or teenage pregnancy or anything like that. So I spoke to my kids at a very young age. From the time that they were 2, they can tell you right now, I used to say, get a plan, a goal, or a man, one or the other. I need you to give me one thing. I never made them clean and stuff like that. Their job was to go to school and get their education and become productive members of society. I didn't want... Give a round of applause.
Let's welcome Esau Gardner to the panel.
Myself and my husband, it was a thing where we didn't want our children to be non-productive members of society. So, and everybody used to say, Pinky, you talk to the kids like that? Well, my nickname is Pinky. And I said, because I want them to know. I want them to know that I'm not going to accept teenage pregnancy. I'm not going to accept you doing drugs. I'm not going to accept you disrespecting me. I'm not going to accept you disrespecting anyone else. I made sure that they are respectful, and I told them, your only job is to bring me a high school diploma. If you choose to go to college, then fine, I can't afford to send you. So if you want to go, you need to work hard to get that opportunity to go. My daughters chose not to go. You know, Emma went back. You went for a little while, you know, and, you know, they all bring me diplomas. That's all I asked for. Now I have my 2 boys. And then when this happened to my husband, it was like, what do I do now? I have to raise men. I'm not a man. I can't teach them how to be a man. But I can look around at other men and let them know that this is what I want from you. This is how I want you to present because you represent me. So if I don't do a good job as a parent, I can't expect you to do a good job as a child. I have to tell you how I want you to be. My son is 20 and he'll be 21 and he just got, you know, full scholarship for basketball to college. He has a 3.8 average. And he's doing very well. And he goes to school in Newark. I watch the news every day and I see so many things going on in Newark. And I worry about him so much. And I call him, and he's like, Mom, I'm in basketball. I'm like, I'm sorry, okay. I just wanted to hear your voice and let you, want to know that you're okay. That's all I need to know. For me to close my eyes at night and go to sleep, I need to know that you're okay. They don't live in their own apartments, but you would swear I paid their bills. Because I call them, I want to know who's in their house, if they leave there, if they went out. I want to know everything. And they go, Mom, we grown. Okay, y'all can be grown, but until I'm in the ground, I'm going to worry. And y'all need to answer my question. And I need to know. And then now I have my 15-year-old son, and he's like 6'6", and he plays basketball, and he spends time with his brother at college, so that gives him the incentive to say, Mom, I want to go to college. So I told him, okay, well, you know what you got to do? You got to get that scholarship. Because I'm broke. I ain't got no money. So, I just wanted to share that with you all. It's all a part of how you parent your children, in order for them to go out and know how to be what you want them to be. Not really what you want them to be, but make them be the best them that they can be. And they are a reflection of you and how you raise them at home and give them to the foundation. It starts with a foundation. I was lucky enough to have my husband for 27 years, to be there to help me raise my daughters. And like Marvin Sapp said, thank God they didn't become thoughts. And I see young girls in the street and I stop, they always say, Mom, you always talking to strangers. But I don't feel like they're strangers. I feel like they're my children too. I feel like if my neighbor's daughter is outside and I see her doing something she ain't supposed to do, I'm going to say something. And if they get disrespectful, then hey, we can get disrespectful together. And then I'm going to let your mama know that
I had to deal with out of town.
I know if I invite everyone in my church, they got warm my members. But let's give her a hand. We also want to recognize the parents of Sean Bell, William and Valerie Bell. Let's give them a hand. Stand. Come on, let's give them a hand. On the topic of that we just answered, we also have to know our rights. Yes, to train our children and to let our children know what they should do. But we got to know our rights, and they have to know when they leave the house, they must have ID on them. They must have ID on them, and when they get stopped by an officer, take your hands out your pocket. Don't act big shot because you hear what's going on in the news and you think you know it all. You have to be able to follow. Now when they stop you, they ask them, if you're a minor, tell them to call your parent. You know, they can only hold you in the precinct but so much when you are under age of 16. And also you act for your attorney and act for your family members. Don't just take it for granted for them to just come and harass you for no reason and you just sitting there letting them do it to you. And you feel because, oh, what's going on in the height of Eric Garner and the height of Michael Brown and the height of other cases going on, you feel that all police are the same way and they can be able to deal with it in the same note. I used to always say that, listen, you deal with what's going on so you can live another day. Because, you know, things happen and then you're no longer here because you decided to mouth off with the mouth and deal with it later. And we also have to deal with the problem with the police department. And that's why Reverend Sharpton and Kirsten John Foy and others have been dealing with the issue because they have this system when you make a police complaint against a police officer. Now from the police officer, after you make the complaint with the Civilian Complaint Review Board, it goes to the desk of the police commissioner. That's the police and the police. And we have to change that system so we can be able to come back to the community and not deal with it in the police department. So we need to continue to keep the pressure on them every day and not give up. And just let them know that Black lives matters, gay lives matters, green life matters, all lives matters, and not just deal with it on a basis where it's just affecting someone on a local level. So teach your kids, yes, but also train them and educate them. The Bible says that we're lost because of lack of knowledge. So give them knowledge and the truths. I have two young sons, my twins, stand up boys, Joel and Joseph. I'm afraid. They tell you, their school is 3 blocks. I'm afraid to let them walk 3 blocks. And you know, I grew up in the streets, I was raised in Brownsville, but I'm afraid just letting them, between the violence and the police, I don't know what to do. I tell people all the time, you know, if I walk down the street and I see some police on one side and some thugs on the other, I'll be more comfortable with the thugs than not the police. So we have to deal with that on an everyday basis and educate. We must educate ourselves. So the next question, then we're going to take some questions from the audience, is how do you keep your loved one legacy alive? How do you keep your legacy alive? Because according to the media, they will slander your name. And they will talk about something you did in 1956. They don't got nothing to do with that, they just killed your loved one. But they will talk about something that don't got nothing to do with the case, nothing to do with that person's not here no more. How do you keep their legacy alive? Let's start with you, Ms. Laura Diallo Brown.
Thank you for that question. That's really important because it is true. The media does slander your loved ones because they don't know who that person is. They don't know who that person was. For me, my brother was more than a street peddler. I grew up with him. I know the kind of man he was. And he was an educated young man with big dreams. He came to this country because he thought, and like everybody else, America is the land of the opportunity and dreams. So he came to pursue his dreams, further his education. He was ambitious, you know, he was independent. He was kind, he was humble, and he loved everybody without any prejudice. He was more than what they portrayed him on TV. He spoke 5 languages. He went to, a French international school. That's where we studied. He spoke 5 different languages. And he was eager to learn about people's different backgrounds and cultures. He was just a unique human being. And for the media to portray him as such, you know, a street peddler, a vendor, somebody who didn't have an ambition or a goal, and that wasn't my brother. So for me, it's my duty from here on out to follow through on his legacy. We have the Amadou Diallo Foundation that's established to follow those dreams that he had through education. You know, we're giving students with African descent the opportunity to come here and study and further themselves and have this opportunity and dream that my brother had that was cut short. So, you know, for me, he
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time.
it hurts. It hurts so much because there is so much I wish I could share with him, and he's gone. So it hurts, and it makes me angry that I can't share these experiences with him. You know, I have my kids that ask about him, and I know if he was here, he would be so proud to see them and meet them and teach them the right way to be. And he was such a kind human being. You know, his passion of sport, he loved basketball, you know, he loved music, you know. Bruce Springsteen was his favorite artist, and ironically, he wrote and sang a song for him. So it's painful, but it's my duty as a sister to come here in front of all of you to share, you know, to share his legacy and to share the kind of person he was that you guys didn't know. He was a kind human being, and it's such a tragedy to have lost him so soon. So, thank you.
Well, you know, as everyone knows, I started working with the National Action Network and the Crisis Department. I'm in the process of, you know, getting the foundation that I started for my father, the Eric Garner Foundation that stops today. Trying to, you know, get that off of the ground. There's 1 year, the anniversary of his death is coming up, July 17th. So I'm trying to like plan something big. And basically what I want to do with the foundation is my father was always a helper. He always liked to help people. That's where I feel like I get it from. My mother, we always said my mother was the mean one, and then my father was a nice one. Because we were spoiled, so, you know, I didn't understand what it means to, you know you can't have it. No, I'm not buying that for you. So, you know, I didn't understand, but, you know, they always tell me, you know, once you have a child, that's it, whatever, you know. So, I was a little bad, but, you know, like with the foundation, what I want to do is I want to help people because that's what he loved to do. Everybody in the neighborhood called my father Pops. You know, like when he bought ice cream for us, he bought ice cream for everybody. He had 6 kids, so he bought ice cream for his 6 kids, plus the other kids that are on the block, and probably their parents too, or something. You know, he's just buying something for everybody. He wouldn't have you, you know, he's not going to eat and have you sitting there, even though he'll have about 5 or 6 plates in front of him. But, you know, you can't have his food, but he'll buy you some. So, you know, he's like, he'd go in there, like, you know, taking us out, you know, he taught me how to tie my shoes, put my shoes on, the right feet and stuff. So, and he was very good with math. I'm horrible at math, so I always went to him with math homework. Like, you know, he was just a helper. So, like, you know, like foster kids, they need role models. Group home kids, they need role models. You know, like they need places to go, like the Huddle, and you know, other programs where they can just be themselves. And the Huddle was started by Ashley Sharpton. You know, we got familiar with each other on the bus ride back from the march in Staten Island. And, you know, places like that, they give you a chance to voice what you want to do. Like, there's an idea that you want to, you know, execute. You don't have the proper, you don't know people, so, you know, when you go to an elder, they can help you execute that plan. Boys Town or any of those places, they need something to do before they get in trouble, before they head there.
Exactly.
You know, like they need something to keep them busy. Because a lot of the times they say the duty is from 14 to 18. There aren't any basketball teams for them. They like basketball. They like computer programming. They like gaming. They like art. They like stuff like that. It's not enough of those programs. So I would say that I want to make everything Eric Garner helping the community because that's what he does. That's where, like, you know, if you ask anybody about my father, they'll always say that he helped me, that he, you know, went above and beyond. He looked out. He, you know, he gave all the time. Like, you know, he would walk around with no shoelaces in his shoes I don't know why, but he'll buy my brother's Jordans, but he's walking around with no shoelaces. And I'll be like, you know, but that's just the type of person he was. He'll give you his shirt if you needed it, like, you know, and he was just nice. Because a lot of people, like, you would say, like, oh, you know, they were nice, but they got a little attitude problem. He was never like that. Like, he had a lot of patience. I don't know, especially for my mother. She's out of control. So if he dealt with her, he dealt with everything. So that's who he was. I want people to know that. I mean, you know, I know you don't know that, but, you know, you just, sometimes. She's a, you know, everybody they have their moments, but my father was always the one to bring it down. Bring it, you know. For him to yell, it's like, you know, he must be really upset at mommy if he's yelling. So. But he was always, for the most part, very calm and very collected. So that's one thing that I always. Right. So it's like, you know, we used to get in trouble, but it wasn't like real trouble. So it's like, you know, everything was it's cool. So I feel like people know who he was by us because we're adults now. So it's not like it was something he forgot to teach us. So it's like, you know, you get to know your father as a child, and then when you grow up, you get to know your father as an adult. I have to ask other people about my father as an adult, but I'll always have childhood memories. So that's what you hold on to.
My brother, he was very a family-oriented person. He's always been like my father. He's always told me what to do, and then he had his 2 children at the time, and I'm like, why are you telling me what to do? Don't you have any children? He's like, well, if daddy's not there, I'm gonna be there to support you, and it's like really hard for him not to be here, but he's a very outgoing person. He loves baseball. Before he left this earth, he was going to be an electrician. So it's for me. I want to do better in bringing his name out and help others and to encourage others that it's going to be okay. I know it's hard because it's painful. It's been 8 years for me, and it's still hard, but to encourage people to push and fight for our rights. Yeah. Like we're supposed to be able to, you know, walk down without being scared of who's watching us and how to dress and not be comfortable in America. Everybody comes here to think that's good and everything, but it's just we just have to keep on pushing and fighting for what's right.
Thank you.
How I continue my legacy since I was a victim, you know, I continue to be who I was before. You know, I've been a productive person in my society. What I love most in my life is being a counselor at the NAN Youth Huddle.
All right.
That's what I love doing. I love, you know, just guiding these kids to like avoid them from falling into the stereotypes that, you know, our people is going through in society today. You know, I want to see them, you know, be successful, you know, be the next doctors, lawyers, police officers. Because these kids are going to end up growing up to become police officers. So we need to like teach them and educate them to do things the right way. You know, another thing is that, you know, in this society, you see they slander you so much to break your confidence, and I experienced that. You know, they tried to assassinate my character. You know, I was beaten out in the streets. I was searched in the streets. I was taken to the precinct, searched again, strip search after that. They couldn't find anything. All they found was camera equipment. They wanted to find that one little thing, like if I had some drugs or something, but they wasn't able to find it, so they was pissed off. So they found other ways to like lock me up, gave me felony charges and everything. Tried to, but I had to fight it for over a year. I remember I was telling my lawyer everything what was going on, and she told me, well, you should have been out there in the storm in the first place. So I fired her ass. Like, come on, this is not right. So what I love to do is, you know, it just really, I'm just like so angry with like what's going on. So what we need to do is like, you know, find solutions and everything. I like to address something with Officer Serpico. He was an officer based on the movie. based on a movie with Al Pacino. He was an officer who was trying to report police corruption, and they was trying to kill him, and he ended up surviving. And that's a problem with going on, with a lot of officers today. They're afraid of, reporting a lot of these bad officers because they're afraid of retaliation. If it's not a setup for them to lose their jobs, that's why they have these quotas going on at the end of every month, where you see a lot of officers out in the street corners. Because if they don't make those quotas, they get written up, they get a lot of pressure. There's also been, officers who've been victims of police brutality. And, people don't like to really, talk about it and address. So what we need to do is try to find a solution, for everybody to get together, because there's pain going on within the civilians, and there's also pain going on within the officers. Because the people who are the officers, I know many of us probably have family members who are police officers. And there's a lot of pressure that's going on today. So it'll be good, if possible, if we could have a march with the officers in uniform saying that all lives matter, because we have to protect these good officers, because good officers, like the officers that was killed in Brooklyn, they shouldn't suffer from the actions of that and repercussions of these bad officers, because people are getting angry over these bad officers and trying to retaliate on these good officers. So what we need to do, if possible, to form a march, a protest, the people and the officers together in harmony, to protect these officers and people, and go against these people like Pat Lynch, Pat Lynch, who condones the bad behavior of these officers and allow these officers to get away with, with their actions. So this is what we need to do. We need to properly, form something so that we all could be together, because if the people in this country could see that people in New York, officers and people together, holding hands, holding signs, officers in the uniforms. I'm not talking about these officers who are out of uniforms, out of their uniforms protest, in uniforms, protesting together to say that all lives matter, and try to have laws to protect these officers, so these officers won't have these pressures. We need to have a big, better difference. And I also like to address the fact of these so-called House Negro officers, these black and Latino officers from our communities, and they coming in and treating people the wrong way. And when they get off of the uniform, driving their cars home, if they get pulled over, they quick to pull their badges out. Guaranteed, if they're not quick to pull out their badges, if they drive their cars home and get pulled over by another officer, they'll be a candidate themselves to be shot up, or a candidate for a damn-ass chokehold. And that's not right. So these officers need to realize and understand that, we all in the same boat in different parts of the ship. And if the boat sinks, we all drown. So we need to get together in unity, in harmony, and protest together, so that we could find a better way and get to these superiors, these officer superiors, so that we could change these laws and protect everyone. And that'll make a whole difference in the whole country, possibly the whole world. Because there's people going through this all over the world. It's not just in America. Last year the Ukraine people was going through the same thing. Mandela was in jail for 27 years based on the same thing. People in Korea, China, all over is going through, police brutality, police misconduct, government misconduct. So we need to get together to form something that could help harmony all over the world.
And that's great to really have that conversation. It's definitely needed. But one of the things that have constant dialogue is that I always ask the question. I remember growing up where I knew the officer that was around. They called him B-Cop. I knew him because anything that I did, one time I was riding in the back of the bus. People from Brooklyn. Everybody from Brooklyn? Right. I used to ride in the back of the bus. And they did it in all boroughs, but it started in Brooklyn. But and when I rode the back of the bus, I was scared because I knew that the officer was going to tell my mother that I was on the back of the bus. And I jumped off the back of the bus, and sure enough, he was on the corner, and sure enough, he told my mother that I was on the back of the bus. But I remember those conversations when of really having the community dialogue with the police. Now, the police don't even say nothing to you. Walk past them, they don't speak. They don't say nothing. That courtesy, professionalism, respect, they don't do that at all. And we need to really have the conversation of really dealing with that, because the officers that, if you want to police in our community, then you should be from our community. You should not live in Long Island or upstate and not be from our local neighborhoods. And I think that if they are from our neighborhoods, then the respect level can change. Some of these officers' mentality is beyond, because they feel they come into the ghetto or to the hood or to deal with animals or deal with, and that's their mentality. So they think all of us are the same. I like to wear my hood sometimes, but I like to trick them, because they think that every time you got a hood or you're doing something wrong, they think you just equal. And I like to trick them sometimes and say, and I'll go along and I respect them, and I just ask them what's going on, and then after I tell them who I am, the whole atmosphere changes. They change the whole thing, and they change, and now they want to be able to say, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. For those officers who do that, we need to be able to let them know that it is not going to continue to happen in our neighborhoods. We cannot allow them to not be from our neighborhood and to protect us. You know, it's crazy how you have to really think about when something happens to call the police and think twice. I feel that you have to think twice about calling the police, you know, for what's happened. So we have to get into the mindset of we do our own patrol. You know, and we really do the community aspect of really patrolling our own streets to deal with our own issues that we have. We deal with the issues of police brutality, but there's another on-ground issue that we have to deal with, is this violence. This black-on-black crime is ridiculous. We killing each other on a daily basis. It's in Queens, an older woman, 71 years old, Lita Webb, she opened up doors because she thought that it was a family member. She opened the door and they killed her. It's ridiculous that we have to be able to deal with these issues within us. Yes, it's a break between mental health, and we have to definitely deal with that. And we have issues that goes back to generational. It's not just something that we deal with every day, but it goes back to our ancestors, because our ancestors went through a lot, you know, being on the ships and being in the cotton field. So we have to deal with those issues on an everyday basis, but it does not negate the fact of we to act ignorant in the street. And it does not break the fact of we killing each other. So we have to deal with the police on one hand and us on the other. So we're going to take some questions from the audience. If you want to be able to ask a question, please line up in the middle aisle and ask a question.
We're asking 2 minutes.
Yes, 2 minutes. No problem with them. You can.
That's right.
So let's start with Laura Diallo Brown.
I'm sorry, the question was?
Okay, he wants to know.
Well, that's the injustice right there. I mean, you know, our lives are just as important as the police officers. So if we don't condone, you know, a tit-for-tat battle, but if they are killing innocent lives, they should expect some form of retaliation, you know? And it's not fair, but I don't think that, you know, I don't think violence should lead to more violence. You know, I think we can resolve things a little bit more peacefully. But we are human beings and we react. You know, people react and people are angry, so things happen. But I think, you know, there is always a positive way to handle what's happening in the community. And we can all come together to find a solution for that.
What he was asking is really in reference to like ACS. Like when you want to discipline your child at home, they say it's abuse. But yet, if you send your child out into the street and they're doing something wrong, it's okay for the police to shoot your child. But if you had the power at home
to discipline your child as you wish without government interference, maybe your child wouldn't be out in the street doing these things to make the police officers try to reprimand them or whatever. That's what he was trying to add.
Right. And I agree with you.
I just wanted to clear that up because nobody really understood, but I was sitting right here.
Right.
And I can speak on that because, like me, I never really beat my children because I had a voice that, I had a look, you know, and they knew when I looked at them that they were, you know, they knew they were doing something wrong. And y'all not going to embarrass me. So y'all sit y'all behinds down and act like you got some home training.
I have to interfere, okay? So my mother never hit us with a belt. She never hit us with a belt, right? But, you know, I never talked back because, you know, I was a good child. But, you know, my sisters and they used to talk back. She would throw something at you, and you would, like, either you get hit with it or you miss, but most of the time you get hit with it. So it's like, you know, we needed that because, you know, it's a fear. You go outside, you know, oh, no, I don't want to do that because my mother going to get me. But when you have to where the leniency, like how I see other parents, where it's like, oh, you gonna call my mother, so what? I'll call her for you. Here's the phone. Like, here you go, because there's no penalty. There's no real penalty, you know? Like, when, like, timeout and all that other stuff, it's not real, because they don't really get a timeout. You sit in the room with the TV. That's not timeout. You know what I mean? Like, it's like how you enforce your rules. You know what I mean? Like, what he's saying is, your kids are acting up, and they need hands. And they need feet sometimes. And the government should tell us that that's wrong. You know? Okay, so that's my
My question is to Mr. Mims to sit on the panel, and I have been where you were. In 2013, I was charged with an assault crime, and I went to court for a year, knowing that this did not happen, and my charges were dismissed. But I had 2 detectives come to my place of employment, and I work for a major organization within this county of Westchester. I'm a very productive citizen. I sit on many boards. I am happily married to a chairman of a deacon board at his father's church. My children are here. And even till this day, I still suffer mentally how I was treated by police officers. And I want to know from you, and I believe this is a healing for me, because I really didn't know I was coming here today, but my husband had planned this. Even till today, I still suffer with the treatment that I got in that police department. Strip searched like a common criminal, and demoralized. And even now, I can't even watch a show where there's a cell or inmates. And I just want to ask you, how are you dealing? What resources did you use to get you to the point where you are comfortable of being who you are back in society and still able to hold your head up proud?
It's not. Thank you for coming in and saying that. Really appreciate it. We all going through pain. And we all dealing with things differently. You know, like Jarvis with Trayvon, you know, Eric Garner, Sean Bell, Diallo's family. You're going through a lot of pain, so if you can. You see, I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, so, you know, I take medication. So that helped me, but, you know, it helps me to a limit. And, you know, there was times where I even hear, like, sirens sometimes, and, you know, I start shaking, or if I'm walking the street and I hear, like, whoop, whoop, my heart starts beating and everything. Sometimes it's hard for me to even speak because of the anxiety. I try my best to, like, understand what's going on, not trying to, like, make an excuse for, you know, officers, because wrong is wrong. But, you know, because there was a time I wanted to be a police officer myself. So for me to be assaulted, nearly killed by a police officer, it was effed up. For real. So I even have friends that was in the police force. You know, family that was in the military service. So I tried to talk with, my friend officers, or even try to like, communicate with them. Like even when I see officers in the street, try to approach them at a respectful tone and manner to like create, create dialogue with each other so that we could have a mutual understanding, because we have to understand each other. And by doing that, that could like have an officer have a different perception to the people in the community. We're not animals. They was calling me animal, all of this type of stuff. Things that you can't imagine, at the precinct. So I was trying to like create dialogue. I went through therapy. Another thing is, I read, this book has a lot of philosophy. It's real good. Rejectors don't need to get this. It really helped me. Because you have to define yourself before others define you. And every life has a value. So think highly of yourself and believe in yourself, because it's like that Eminem song, I'm not afraid to take a stand. I'm not afraid. So, we gotta like be able to like, continue to like live on and, be an example, because if I would have committed suicide, I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be helped to, society. I wouldn't be in the position where I'm at now, as a counselor with the youth huddle to like, help these children. These children need me. These children need us. Sometimes we can't have our tail between our legs. We have to be strong for others. Because, these kids is going through a lot. So you have to be strong for your kids. What doesn't kill you make you stronger. So understand?
All right, next question. We moving on the speed train. Next question.
First of all, I want to thank the panelists and thank Reverend. What I want to ask, are we looking for alternatives? Are we looking for alternatives outside of civil rights law, in the area of natural or human rights law? Are we looking to connect to the struggle of nations that have suffered, nations that have defined the crimes that have taken place in America by the police department and its agencies as crimes against humanity and a war of genocide on black people? I'm going to let you answer. Now, according to Mababa, some say Martha and RTV, Russian TV, and Asian TV, there is the black-on-black crimes are being defined as a civil war, wherein the government is being financing guns, drugs, with agent provocateurs in the ranks, creating greater dissension and in an atmosphere to go after the black youth. Now, according to that, and the number of statistics I've conducted, and also talking with congressmen on Capitol Hill and senators, and they were like very questionable answers, but what I'm presenting to you, are we looking at alternatives? And I'm going, are the alternatives under the UN, which is a body that would hear the case of the plight of black people in America? I also want to raise the issue for everyone.
One question, brother, one question.
Yes.
Let me answer the first one, and then you can talk to me on the side for the second one.
Okay.
All right, good.
Now, I'm just going to say this, that 4 points. One,
No, brother, no, we ain't going to do 4 points today, brother. Just one question. I'll answer your question, and then we can talk
We'll
after.
talk then. We'll talk.
All right, to answer your question, one thing I like about Esau Gardner.
Everyone on the panel.
Okay. I'm going to answer the question, then we can talk after. One of the questions that one of the people, one of my favorite people is Esau Gardner, because she ain't afraid to speak up what's going on. And yesterday, the governor was here at our minister's luncheon. And that's not the first time that Esau has met the governor. And one of the things that she said to him is making sure that this case does not go unnoticed, that you bring it to the national forefront and deal with it, making the necessary changes that he in his power can do. And that's what we need to continue to do, is not just deal with it on a local front, but deal with this as it affect everybody on a national level and an international level. So we're going to continue to put the pressure on and the powers that be to deal with those issues on a day-to-day society. Because what's happening in Jamaica Avenues is also happening in Jamaica. What's happening in Kingston is also happening in Kenya. Kingston Avenue is always happening in Kenya. So we're going to continue to deal with those issues and bring it to the national front. Next question.
Thank you. First of all, let's clear something up, that if a black commits a crime against another black or another person, that person is always held accountable, that person is always arrested. All right, if a cop does it, well, we've seen the trend here. All right, and it's my contention that if it's word for people like Rudy Giuliani, like Patrick Lynch, that's always inciting this racial bias towards blacks and misusing
What's your
the
question,
police.
brother?
My question is, should we not be voicing concerns to the Justice Department and naming those individuals that are inciting and encouraging police officers to be attacking us, to be killing us, and those are the same ones that, the first ones that throw the police officers under the bus?
Okay, to answer your question, that's the same question similar to what the gentleman just asked. Yes, next question. Any youth questions? Any youth questions?
Hi, my name is Ike.
Hi.
Ike Williams. Hi, my name is Ike Williams. I'm a manager. I have a locksmith company. And usually I have a big bag that I carry on my back. And this happened about 4 years ago. I had my backpack on with my tools and everything with me, and I'm walking. I'm in the subway, and these two officers, 4 white officers, start coming over towards me. And they're looking at me with this puzzled look on their face and everything. You know, and I had to talk to myself and tell myself to calm down. And they saying, show me this, and they're looking at me, and they have this very antagonistic attitude and everything. So I tell them I'm deaf, and they keep talking to me, and I have to stop them. I said, listen, I'm deaf. I need you to write. Please, can you please write what it is you're trying to say? And I compose myself, calm myself. You know, I'm not going to give them an attitude. That's not my way. That's not a deaf way. So they write, and they talk, you know, they circle me and everything. So one puts his hand on his nerve, on his gun, and I guess he expects me to get all panicky and upset and nervous. And I'll compose myself still and wait for them to finish with writing. The cop gives me what he's written, and I read it. And so they ask me for my ID, and I take it out and I show it to them. Okay, and I put it back in my pocket. I said, why are you all coming up against me like this and circling me? You have a question or something? You want to kill me? What's going on with the attitude and everything? They said, oh, no, your backpack, you know, you're a locksmith and everything, but we didn't know if you were carrying a bomb or what you might be carrying. Wow. Well, why are you going to come up and circle me like that? I said, you have the wrong person. One person should approach me, not all 4 come and circle me like that. You know, you're a professional. You have to respect people. Are you doing this because I'm black? What is your point? How do you handle something? And this is not the first time it's happened.
Oh, I'd like to say something about this. You know, some of these cops are punks. You know, the thing is that, you know, a lot of these cops start their being on the force at 23. So that means it's mainly 5 years. A lot of them came out of high school. So this is like their first job for many of these officers. You know, some of these officers have been punked and bullied. So I say, you know, reference to this, you know, you gotta really try to you know, conduct yourself. And if these officers do these things to you, you have to get their report, you know, get whatever they've written down, you know, try to see their, you know, their IDs, their badge numbers, whatever possible. You know, and another thing is that, you know, a lot of these officers need to have a mental and psychological evaluation, every 2 years, because these officers be seeing dead people, they be seeing, you know, a lot of murder, a lot of violence and stuff going on, so it affects them psychologically. So they need like a psychological evaluation probably like every 2 to 3 years. That's another thing. So we need to like take action in reference to that and go to like whatever organization possible.
Right. And you need to also get the names and the badge numbers, because one of the things about that they have to be able to do is they learn is sensitivity training. And they cannot just come around you 3 or 4 guys, because you know what? If 3 or 4 black guys come up to them and surround them, the first thing they do is grab their gun. So you make sure that next time, God forbid if it happens, get their names and the badge budget and call the National Action Network.
That's right.
Hi, Mr. Mitch, you just made a point about the police officers having psychological testing every 2 to 3 years. I feel, why can't we weed them out before they ever join the force? Because a lot of them were brought up to hate. We need to weed them out before they're allowed to enter the force. Because that's inbred, that's ingrained, that's generational.
You know, the thing is that, you know, it's just like a person in the military. You know, they all right when they go into the military, but as soon as they go overseas and see like all the dead people, they come back with post-traumatic stress disorder. And a lot of these officers do have that within them. You know, if I'm saying like, you know, their partners getting killed, other people getting killed. So sometimes it's hard for them when they come in. They could come into the force okay, but they could be corrupted by their superiors. Because there's many times when officers come into like the precincts out of the academy and their superiors, their chiefs, will tell them like, everything that you learned from the academy, forget it. Forget it. This is how we do it over here at this precinct. These type of people is like this, and we're gonna treat these people like this. And it is the truth. It is the truth. So we have to. It's with the psychological evaluation, it's definitely, you know, it's really needed.
Right. Thank you. And to add to what he's saying is that when you know of these things happening, report it and let them know what's going on. We got rid of a precinct inspector in the 8-1 precinct in Brooklyn, where he said the same thing, that whatever you learn in the academy, forget about it. We got rid of him because he was reporting what's going on. We're going to take 2 more questions, and then we have another panel that's going to start right after this one. Very quickly. So 1 more question.
Okay. Some people join the movement, and some people have the movement thrust upon them. Reverend Sharpton has been asking in the other panel about measuring the movement, and I was wondering where you all would like to see our youth next year. I liked what the brother said about reaching out and talking to police officers, introducing yourself, maybe going to community board meetings at precincts. So where would you all like to see this time next year? What action would you like to see our youth do? And it can be very simple.
Well, first of all, I would like to see the youth parents, you know, get more involved and bringing more youth in, because we're stronger in numbers. So we need to have more kids in here, young people in here taking action, because they're going to be our leaders of tomorrow. So we need to the kids are the foundation to our future, so we need to make sure that foundation is strong. So whoever doesn't have any children here today, or know any children that should have been here, please have them come to the Youth Move Huddle every Monday nights from 7 to 9 at the National Action Network. Thank you.
All right, I know they say not 1 question, but she's a youth, and I want her to say 1 question very quickly, 10 seconds.
There was a whole line of adults.
There was no youth.
No youth spoke. The Youth Move panel.
That's what we let you speak now, dear.
And I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
There should be more youth to speak. It's where a young lady and another young
Okay,
lady.
let the young people come up and learn the young people.
My name is Simone Davis, and I'm part of the Los Angeles NAN chapter. I recently received my master's from Texas A&M, and where I'm a gang researcher. So in the last 3 years, I conducted 23 interviews with former gang bangers and gangster rap artists. I had moved to Los Angeles to be a youth advocate. And what this whole conference has been so enlightening, so engaging, But at the same time, I'm so disappointed because there has not been one panel to discuss black-on-black crime in our communities. And I am just baffled. I'm baffled, and I want to ask Reverend, I want to ask the community members here, what do we have to do to not forget, not put aside police brutality, but coincide with black-on-black crime? How can we fight white-on-black violence at the same time we're addressing the black-on-black crimes? Because we are in the times of self-genocide. And if we do not stand up for our own rights, who will? So I have a question, and I have a move for every community member in this room to be advocates for black-on-black lives.
I want to respond because you're very passionate, and I wanted to hear from you. So I just wanted to respond to what you're saying, like what can we do about black-on-black crime? It all loops back to parenting. It all loops back to what you have around your children. They do what they see. So if they don't see unity, if they don't see people coming together, they're not going to do that. They're going to look for it somewhere else. They go to gangs because they feel like that's their family. We have to come together as a community to help these children. Just like, he said, my mother's friend is a cop, and if he sees me doing something wrong, he's going to tell my mom. Tell the parents. It's the parents and the community. It's the community. We all have to look out for each other. A lot of us live in housing developments. We can't battle against other housing developments. We have to all come together. We all can work together to do it. So, I understand, the whole, I'm with it. I understand. So that's why I wanted to respond to you, because I know I see your passion, and I understand. So that's what we have to do. That's the plan that we need to put in action.
Okay, I understand time is money. Naomi Hall from Washington, D.C. See about me. I work with Ronald Millon. He was the starter of Peaceaholics. My cousin, Raphael Briscoe, was killed by the police. I don't know if y'all heard about that, but they were talking about the jump outs and stuff. He got shot in the back 4 times, running away from the police. I saw the video for the first time like a month ago, I want to say, and I'm still, But all that to say, respect to your father too, but mighty ironic how in Brooklyn, they catch a police officer on a camera taking money. He's fired or whatever, no paid administrative leave, no nothing. Mighty ironic, we have a police officer on camera, you know the rest.
Right.
But what are y'all doing to hold these things that we find ironic? What are y'all doing to hold the people accountable for it? Because I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who saw that.
Well, this is what, this is what, thank you for your question. Let's give her a hand for the youth. But to answer your question is that we got to continue to keep the pressure on. I'm not really of a fan of these body cameras, really to be honest with you, because they said, all right, record. We record everything. Eric Garner, you saw it. Walter Scott, you saw it. So body cameras is a step in the right direction, but we need to have further conversation about what to do when you see. There's another conversation you need to say, what to do when you see it on videotape. And that's what we need to be able to dictate to them. So we need to continue to keep the pressure on. We want to thank everyone for coming to this panel. Give yourselves a hand clap. If you can stay, the youth panelists having next. If you can stay, the youth, the entertainers and social responsibility, Blackish is going to be here, and it's being moderated by our youth leader, Mary Pat Hector. So if you can stay right here. Thank you very much. Give yourselves a hand.
Please do not rush the stage. We need to get a photo with our panelists.
We're good.